It's the first podcast of the season. One game in, disappointment abound. All our optimism is seeping away as Cardiff lost 2-0 at home to Sunderland to start the 24-25 championship season. Same old optimism, same old podcast. Ben Price, Tom Phillips joining me once again. Ben Price, how you doing?
I'm not bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you. Tom Phillips, come in, Tom Phillips from Australia. How is the land down under?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Ben. I'm not tired of that at all. So, yeah, please.
No, I didn't think you were. I could tell in your face you were loving it.
The enthusiasm seems to have gone from you there, Ben. I'm not going to lie.
What's that?
The obligation to make that joke was just the enthusiasm wasn't there for that.
I think I've got another couple of weeks of it, to be honest, and then I'm going to have to stop because I'm getting tired of it. And if Tom's getting tired of it, then we should respect his boundaries on that one. We're a respectful podcast. Let's start. As the season started with a 2-0 loss against Sunderland, Ben, let's start from the start. The starting 11, when it was announced, were there any surprises for you? Colwell on the bench, Robinson started, Robertson on the bench. Was there anything there that caught you by surprise?
I genuinely thought Colwell would start. I thought he might bring Willock on. I didn't think he'd be ready to start a game. So that was probably the only surprise for me. I was really happy that he went with Robinson, like we discussed last week. It's a show of faith and sort of a reward for the effort he's put in. You can't have the conversations they've had. Mm-hmm. And then when you've held up your end, the manager can't then go against it. Otherwise, it creates a bad mood throughout the camp straight away. So no, it was not only other than Willock. There was no real surprises. It was probably about as strong as I thought we were going to put out.
Tom, were you surprised by the lack of youngsters on the bench? Even some of our older youngsters, people like Malachi, Fagan, Walcott got the nod ahead of people like Eli King. Or do you think Bullett's saving them for Tuesday?
I'm not sure, really, because I think we just got used to not having youngsters on the bench unless we're like completely lacking bodies through injury. So I'm not really surprised by it. Bullet seems to go do this, doesn't he? Really, I think I'm a little bit disappointed in it, but it is game one, so I'm not going to get too carried away with it. I think I was a little bit more shocked that Tanner started. I think out of the starting lineup.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, like I thought it'd be mate day because I don't know. I just thought he would do that. I think it does worry me a little bit that there's still kind of like a lack of faith in Colwell to start. Like he's not tired from playing too many games or anything now. It's game number one. So is this? I know I put it in the preview last week that he might be the disappointment of the season will be Colwell, and it might not be through any fault of his own, but he might just not get much game time under Bullet. I think that does worry me that it's already started that way.
Was it punishment for his hair?
Yeah, I mean, that hair really ruined the continuity on a couple of the Cardiff City social videos. I think the reality of the situation is like if Ramsey's going to be fit, Ramsey's going to start, isn't he? And that's why Ramsey played in the 10. But as soon as Colwell came on, and we'll get onto the Ramsey point a bit later on, Colwell just looks to run with the ball and at least progress with the ball across the halfway line. And obviously we'll talk about the goal as well, but he was fouled potentially for their goal. Ramsey didn't do that at all when he was on the pitch. So I'm hoping that Bullet looks at that and goes, well, if we want to be a bit more progressive with the ball, then Colwell probably should start in that regard. Ben, let's talk about the game itself. First half, we started relatively well, didn't we? I think we've seen Bullet talking about keeping the ball, looking to kind of pass it around a little bit, and that's exactly what we did, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought we started really brightly. First 15 minutes, it felt very much like a continuation of pre-season where it was dominate the ball, work it through midfield, and try and break the lines with like good strong passing. Like Rawls was really determined to get forward. It felt like the pressure of like that number 8 coming in, he felt like he was really trying to prove himself that he's good enough to play that role as well. I was really, really encouraged. Like, there was a few of us sat in the stands chatting about really enjoying it, knocking it about well. Sunderland barely had a touch for the first 15 minutes.
Yeah. I think if you look at the stats as well, it bears the reflection of that we dominated possession. I can't remember a Cardiff City side in recent years almost doubling their possession, 64% to 36. We had over 500 passes out of, I think, 585 attempts. So our passing accuracy was pretty strong. And I don't remember a Cardiff side ever making over 500 passes. Tom, it's we can talk about the loss and all that kind of stuff, but those things are quite encouraging, aren't they? That we're trying to do something a bit different and we're trying to pass the ball around, and you'd hope that the goals will come off that.
Yeah, bang on. I think we just need to be patient. It is something new. We saw it in fits and starts last year. It was like one game in 3, we dominate possession, and then we'd get, we get passed off the park by someone, but it looks like we're trying to build to do that a little bit more consistently now. So I think we may lack chances in the first few games while we kind of come to terms with new players coming in and a new way of playing, players linking up. We saw like young shoots of it now, but, I think we just need, not turn. Let's not start to boo when we're passing it back and forth, not really creating anything. I'm sure it'll come over the next few weeks. I know there's a worry in the back of the head. It's like, oh, this is more of the same. We've seen this last year. We have the ball. We don't do very much with it. But we have got new players in. We've got new personnel. So I'm not going to get too carried away with worrying about it until at least probably 8 games into the season.
It took 28 minutes to have the first fucking knock it forward man to be around. But I was quite impressed with that.
Yeah, I mean, that happened last week when we were at the Bristol game. There was someone behind me who was, when we were passing it back and forth from left to right, it took about 20 minutes for someone to go, oh, just get it forward, man. And it's going to happen. But I think the players need to kind of cliche City, but trust the process in that regard. We've bought players like Willock. We brought Robertson back in because they offer something different. We're not knocking the ball forward to somebody who's going to flick it on and hope that we get there. The way we're playing is different, and the players we've got are set up to do that. So we've just got to hope that it's going to come in the next few weeks. Ben, we had a couple of chances. There was a really good save from a Gutas header. I can never remember if this chance came before or after their goal, but Robinson had a half chance where he had a volley. I think we've already talked about it, but in a few weeks, those chances will become bigger than half chances, won't they? As the players get used to each other and the way we're playing. So it was encouraging, wasn't it, Ben, that we were testing their keeper a fair bit in that first half?
Yeah, I don't think there was enough. I think especially after they scored, it dried up. But early on, we were looking to get it forward and sort of get shots off early. And that was huge. Again, it was just stuff that we didn't really do last year. You can see there is improvement there. They're looking to sort of try these things a bit more. There's other issues that come from that once we conceded. But look, there was lots of encouraging signs from an attacking point of view in that first 15 minutes, especially.
Tom, let's talk about their goal. Obviously came from a set piece, free kick to the back post, headed back across goal. A pretty poor goal to concede, all things considered. Who are you blaming for the goal?
Parry. I think he just loses his man. It's a really simple one as well. It's played it into the back post, nod back, and it's just a simple finish. And again, you're hoping that's one of those things like it's happened in the first game. It can't happen again now. You can just say it's rustiness. That's all it is rustiness. But it is really, really poor. When we pride ourselves on set pieces going forward and defensively. So to concede at home early doors, it kind of it takes the wind out of your sails. It's just a really, really poor one. And it's not like he loses him by a little bit. He's nowhere near him.
Switches off.
Yeah, he's just nowhere near him. He's watching the ball and he's at the back post in acres of space to put it away. So if I was Bullet, I'd be going absolutely nuts about that. Because, you have a pre-season, you build up to the first kickoff of the new campaign, and that's how you concede your first goal. It is a real kick in the teeth.
I think also Gutas loses his man at the back post as well. I think that was a huge, huge error from him. That made it too easy for them to knock it across. But again, I agree as well. NG's marking a 9. There's no way he should be given that much space. He's got probably a yard around it, around him all around that no one's near him. It's criminal, that goal.
You could also say, could Horvath be stronger and it's across the 6-yard box. That in theory is the keeper's area. He's watched it go across him. Could he not set himself to kind of try and cut out that cross as it comes back across? Because that's obviously what was going to happen.
It's quite high, to be fair. It would have to be in a hell of a...
It is quite high, but he's got long arms. He's missed the tickle. We know this. He could have gone go gadget extendo arms, and he could have punched the ball away. I think NG was at fault for not marking, Luke O'Neill, but Gutas is right. He loses his man and doesn't cut out the header. Could Horvath have been stronger? There's a lot of question marks over the goal for me.
It's good that we can blame the whole defensive unit for a goal in the first game.
I think so,
isn't it?
I think so. The only one who got away with it really was Chambers.
Yeah, no, we'll have a dig at him at some point. But it's nice to just have the blame across the board, knock everyone's confidence before game 2. So I'm all for it.
Team game.
It's a team
exactly.
game.
Yeah.
Winners a team, loses the team. And Ben, from there, we kind of lost our way a little bit, didn't we? As a team, slowed down, passing became a bit more laboured, and I don't really remember another chance again in that first half. It kind of knocked our confidence, didn't it?
Yeah, we reverted back to very much middle of last season it felt very similar. It was very ponderous on the ball, real lack of confidence from most attacking players, and just we were static. That's what really stood out for me for probably the next 60 minutes until probably the 80th minute. The movement off the ball was non-existent. It was very much sort of players not sure where to pass and players around them not looking to receive the ball anyway. It was just, that was a really, after such a promising start, it was really disappointing to see just one poor goal reverted us back to what we were sort of middle of last season.
Ben, you're going to have to enlighten me on this because I kind of vaguely remember it, but Robinson was pushed by O'Neill for a potential penalty. Do you think it was a penalty?
Yeah, it's in the second half. Ball comes in. It's anywhere else on the pitch. It's one of those two hands.
I remember the one, and the commentator said that as well because I was watching it on Sky Sports Plus. He said that's a foul on the halfway line, but not in the penalty box.
It was bizarre. It's blatant as well. Just a complete, just obvious shove. It's like Luke O'Neill's a lot of things. He seems like a lovely bloke.
It's a shit house,
on the pitch, he's a proper shithouse, and he's not subtle about it. And this was like a proper just whoosh in the back because Robertson was going for a header. It's a penalty. I don't get how it's not given. I feel like in 6 weeks' time, that gets given as a penalty as well. The referees are doing this thing early in the season where they're trying to let games go on and sort of let certain things go that won't last the rest of the season. It really frustrated me that wasn't given. There was a couple of other ones people around me were claiming was a penalty and they weren't. But for me, that is the most obvious penalty we'll see for a long time.
I thought the ref was generally poor yesterday. I think we'll talk about their goal shortly, but there were a lot of decisions that he seemed to give one way but not the other. There were a lot of decisions that I think in a couple of weeks' time would be fouls or normally would be fouls at any other time, and he just let the play go. There was a lot of kind of like those subtle pushing and pulls, really, that I think he didn't clamp down on, and that's what Sunderland were able to get away with. And I think fair play to Sunderland for taking advantage of it. I've got no, if we'd taken advantage of it, I'd be delighted. But it seemed to play into their hands more than ours, and I think that's a naivety thing from our side because we could be a bit cuter with our fouls. We could be a bit more take advantage of situations like that, be a bit more tactical, but we didn't seem to yesterday. We let them do it, and we became overawed.
I think you're right. The officials were poor, sorry, but the linesman in front of the Ninian stand. Like, he's ginger and it was a hot day. I understand he's struggling. But, oh, my God, he was poor.
There was the one, wasn't it, where Mate potentially ran it out of play and it was very inconclusive, but he gave it. That's the only one I remember really standing out.
Oh, there was one on that on the line. But I think he gave that as offside somehow, despite two players being on the line. There was like 3 throw-ins that he was literally guessing. He'd stop and it was just who shouted the loudest. And it went either, like, for both sides. It was just, It wasn't a good start for officials in the EFL this weekend.
No, I've seen a few things already that people are complaining about. So it's the same old EFL officials that we've got this season. Tom, second half, we rang the changes. On came Colwill, on came Kanga. Kanga had a pretty good half chance from a header. What did you make of his first run out in Cardiff City colours at the CCS?
Fine. It's one of those ones where it's one of those games where I think a lot of players didn't do a lot wrong, didn't do a lot right. They were just kind of there. But again, it's someone who will grow into it as the season goes on. We just didn't create much as a whole team. It's just really hard to judge him on his own. I think I'd like to see him start in a couple of weeks to really judge him because obviously it's like fleeting appearances at the moment. But it's good that we have got those options coming off the bench. We've lacked that over the last season or two. So to have him coming on in that situation, in games coming up, could be the difference between scoring or not. So no, it's good to see him getting a run out already when they've already mentioned that it'll take him a while to get up to kind of match sharpness and get up to the league standard. So but if we're already trusting him to come on at that stage, it's a good sign.
Nice to see the lesser spotted Di Turnbull as well. Went missing in pre-season, but he's back. Odd.
He went missing yesterday.
No, I didn't. I was thinking when him and Colwell came on, they didn't touch the ball for a long time. It was just one of those odd substitutions. Let's talk about their second goal, Ben. You've written it here, potential foul on Colwell. I watched it back this morning. I think it's a foul. I think I can see why the referee doesn't give it, but the Sunderland player grabs his arm, pulls him down, and at the very last minute gets a touch on the ball, and the referee kind of dummies it out the way to try and get around the ball, and they go on to score from it. It's frustrating, isn't it, Ben? Because it probably is a foul.
Yeah, again, I think in a couple of weeks that's given as a foul every time. It's just, I think, like the referee's trying to stick to this mandate they give at the start of the season. But again, I think it's a foul. I think the referee's got it wrong. But I think the reaction from the players all around was really poor.
Yeah, they should have been in his face.
Colwill just stays down for about a week. And just to feel like this, it's just there was no reaction from the players. Just let them have so much time on the ball to come through and just finish it off.
Yeah.
It's a foul. We should be frustrated by it, but I think we could have done a lot better to prevent that goal after that as well.
I also think when NG was, again, not to call him out, but like he was so passive in defence against that. The guy comes down his side, cuts inside, goes past him, and NG just doesn't even put a leg out, doesn't really go with the ball. There's two of them there, and I can't remember who the second player was, which is why I'm not necessarily blaming him with the name. But they both just watch him pass him, and he finds space in the bottom corner. It was really weak defending, and all you needed to do was block the ball. You need to stand him up. They just let him past him.
I thought Perry NG looked really disinterested yesterday. I thought he was really off compared to what he normally is. There was no sort of...
Yeah.
He wasn't bombing forward like he can do. I know he's not the most adventurous in attacking the fullbacks, but he wasn't doing like the niggly fouls either. He was just trying to do stupid things that sort of... Like I'm sure it's him that gave away the foul for the free kick for the first goal as well, wasn't it?
I can't remember. I know it was on his side.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's him. That it's just a pointless foul and just a couple of little things, but there was no real sort of like... He didn't put himself like body on the line like he has done in the past. It was just very sort of shithousery without like the good stuff coming with it. I thought he was really it wasn't his best game.
No, I think out of the two shithouses of Luke 09 and Perry NG, there's only one winner in that battle of the shithouses, really, isn't it? And it was definitely Luke 09. I think it was just. I think like you said, it was passive the way he just stood off. Like Clark is linked with Premier League moves for a reason.
He's very good. He's very good.
Like he's tricky. You know what he's going to do in that situation. So stop it. Just get in front of it. Get something in front of it. Like he shouldn't be allowed to find that far corner from that angle. And again, it's two defensive mistakes that have cost us that game. Because to be honest with you, a draw would have been a fair result. I think we deserve something for that game. I don't think either team deserved to win it, or possibly Sunderland do because it's a great away performance. They scored early and stopped us creating anything. And I think that's why taking our chances earlier in the game will become a bit huge, because you score early in that game when you have chances, that whole game plays out differently. Sunderland have to come forward. They can't rely on a counter like they did then. They have to come at us. But, I take some heart from the fact that it's two defensive lapses and we actually played well. But at the same time, it's a little bit worrying that we're kind of already that meek defensively. Game one, why are we switching off so easily and the same player twice?
I also think what Jack Clark did wasn't even particularly inventive. He dropped the shoulder and cut inside. Like, if you're a fullback, that's bread and butter defending. Yeah. And he didn't even do it at the byline. He did it 5 yards into the box. It was just simple stuff. And I think that's the most frustrating thing. Apart from the negatives, Ben, did anyone impress you?
Willock had fleeting moments. You can see there's real talent there. He seems to have been given much more of a free role compared to sort of, you looked on the other side, Tanner was an out-and-out winger, whereas there was other times where I felt, at times did feel a bit sorry for O'Dowda that he was sort of very isolated on that left-hand side, but he did very well out there as well. He was another player that really stood out, was good. And Rolls as well. I felt out of the two midfielders, when the changes were made, I don't think Ramsey deserved to stay on the pitch for 90. I thought he was poor. I think he gave the ball away a lot, was very slow. I know he's got the ability to create something out of nothing, and that's what you sort of keep him there for as well, like those little bits of magic. But yeah, I think if you were going to make the change in midfield there, for me, it was Ramsey coming off and Rawls staying on, because I thought he was winning the ball, working hard, just didn't stop running all game. Okay, he did drop back a bit and start playing those passes backwards a bit too much then after we conceded. But yeah, I really enjoyed watching Rawls play again.
Tom, anyone impressed for you?
I think it's a little bit unfair on Ramsey. I agree that he should have been the one to come off. I don't think he should have been on it for the 90, but I think any sort of decent play and interplay for us came from him still. I think anything that looked tidy and neat was from Ramsey. So I don't think he was poor, but I know what you mean. He didn't really stand out.
Yeah.
But I think I'm really excited to see O'Dowda get a run of games again. I think obviously it was so stop-start for him last year with big injuries and stuff. I think he could become like absolute paramount to us this year if we're going to do well. And I just like him as a player. He's an intelligent football player, and like he puts balls in areas like the one where Ramsey ended up on his knees somehow. Like that was a great ball across the box, and it's just we've lacked that, and we did really miss him at times last year. And early in the season he was getting to the byline, pulling the ball back, and we need to see more of that from him going forward, and I'm sure we will. So I think I'm just excited to see O'Dowda, definitely.
Oh, Mate looked good when he came on as well. Sorry, I forgot to say that.
True.
Like he had that one shot that was blocked because that was burying bottom corner if that defender didn't get the block in. He looked really sharp.
I also think O'Dowda looks really good from left back. So when we get a left back in play and you can push O'Dowda further up the pitch, like I don't think, with the greatest respect to Tanner's probably not going to start if O'Dowda can play on the wing, because I think O'Dowda just brings a lot more than Tanner does. And Tanner's young. We've already talked about this. He's very raw, but I thought he was poor yesterday. I don't want to start the season by being too critical of him. He gave the ball away a lot. His passing was pretty weak. He kind of often took the wrong option. Maybe it's a confidence thing. I don't know. But we know that there's a player there and there's talent, but he just doesn't seem to be getting the best out of him at the moment. So I think as soon as we get a left back, I can see O'Dowda pushing further up the pitch. And I think O'Dowda and Willock as wing options or creative options in that team is really good. And then we've still got Al Ghazi to come in as well. Tom, at the debutants, did anyone stand out for you? We've already talked about Willock. What about Chambers? Do you think he played well?
Yeah, like fairly solid. I think, like I said, there was not a lot done wrong by anyone. I think Willock, you can see why we've signed him and why he's going to be useful. He's a really tidy player, and I think he's decent defensively, but he's really good going forward. And he doesn't stay in that one position. He does float around. He gets himself into positions. He can kind of sense where there's going to be chances and stuff. So I think, as debutants go, I think it was absolutely fine. I think it was decent debuts from them both. I feel like I'm being fairly negative, but there wasn't much to get excited about, but there wasn't too much to worry about at the same time. I wasn't there like shouting at the screen going like, this is absolutely pathetic. It's just a couple of bad moments and some solid play. I think we saw some decent stuff and stuff to build on. So plenty of positives to take, even if I don't sound like I'm being positive.
Ben, any of the debutants impress you?
I thought Chambers was really good. Just good on the ball, solid defensively, exactly what you want. You could tell at times he's not played a huge amount of football in the last 12 months, but that was to be expected. There was nothing I was too panicked about, and you can tell there's a hell of a footballer there. He's so confident on the ball, looking for those passes. That's
you can tell he's been at Arsenal, can't you?
Yeah. Same with Willock as well. Like just those it's the little movements and the little where they're probably some players in the Championship are. They get the ball, then they think about what they're going to do. They're not quite as quick thinking. They're very much right. They know where they're going as soon as they've played this pass, and we need a few more players to sort of join up with that thinking, I think.
Shout out to friend of the pod, Laurie Paradikis. He said that some of the fans yesterday were very excited about Willock before the Sunderland goal. Really excited by Willock. He was the only one at QPR did anything, looks lively. After the Sunderland goal, Willock is shit, didn't track back. He was crap at QPR. So people have had the summer off, but fans remain the same.
That's outstanding.
Let's talk about Errol Bullett's post-match press conference, Tom. He said the usual stuff, disappointed about the result, not controlled the game, but he also talked about transfers, highlighting that a couple of players, he wants up to 3 to come in. McGuinness was injured and he's probably sticking around for now. What positions are you looking for Bullet to fill?
Defensively, I think, we need another defender. We need a left back. And I think it's become obvious. It just stands out. We still need like an attacker, do we? We still need a striker there.
We need a goal scorer.
I think we need a goal scorer. Yeah, definitely. I think we have got midfield options, especially like with Robertson coming in now as well. I think we're looking tidy in the middle of the park. I think I think we need to shore up the defense a little bit more. We're good with the players that we've got, but it's depth really. But I think we just need a goal scorer. It feels like we say this every season, but we just need a goal scorer. I just want to see a decent goal scorer, like a 20-goal striker, come to our club, because there's nothing more exciting than someone that's just like banging goals in for you. Like a team like Blackburn having like Sammy Smodics last year is huge. It makes all the difference between going down and staying up, or being mid-table or being in the playoff picture. Exactly right, but they come at a premium, or you need to unearth a gem. So I'm not I don't expect us to have a 20-goal striker, but that's the one thing I'd love us to bring in.
Ben, anything out of Bullett's press conference that stood out to you?
He was very happy, it felt like, sort of in front of the cameras anyway, about the whole game, which I'm not expecting him to come out first game and sort of batter everyone for like a poor thing, but like there were times where it was a bit too obvious that we need to be better with the ball and like need to be quicker. Mm-hmm. I feel like sort of in 6 weeks' time, if we play this way, he'll be saying the same. So I'm guessing it's sort of early days. He's trying to keep things calm and sort of say, look, it's a progression sort of thing. But yeah, I think the main thing stood out was he was just same as the press conference on Friday. He wants 3 more through the door.
3 more through the door. That's going to be our mantra. We'll get to talking more about transfers shortly, but let's go to Twitter for people's Twitter reactions. Gareth Dunning, Siopis roles, Rambo trio worked at the start of last season, but it's not going to be answered this season. It's safe enough, experienced, and all decent players, but as a combo, it's not going to create enough thoughts. Ben, I mean, we know with Rolls and Rambo's injury records, we're not going to get a full season out of them, are we? And that's obviously why we've signed Alex Robertson and why Ruben Colwell's probably going to get an elevated role this year. It's on Colwell now, isn't it, to be the person who takes that, if an injury comes up, and same for Robertson, I'm not skipping him over. If Rolls gets injured and Robertson comes in, if Rambo gets injured and Colwell comes in, they need to take the mantle, don't they, and own that position.
Yeah, there's 3 young players behind, I think, like same with King and Siopis. I think all 3 lads are those youngsters.
Yeah.
Like, by the end of the season, they could firmly be the first choice in that position if they just take that opportunity, because they're all going to get a chance. CO runs at 100 miles an hour, seemingly just through life. He's 100 miles an hour. He's going to slow down. He's going to slow down at some stage and need a rest. So King comes in there, and there's ability there that he can make that position his own. Rawls, I love him, but you're not going to get. You're not going to get.
He'll break down at some point.
Yeah, it's just the way he plays. He puts his body on the line for everything, battles for everything. He's going to get hurt. Ramsey's 33. As a 33-year-old, trust me, your body just hurts non-stop. So, yeah, again, Colwell there. When he came on, you could see he really wanted to make an impact. It took him a while to get hold of the ball, but when he got there, you could see the quality, the strides, the power in those strides. There's a phenomenal player there. Yeah, it was massive. And with that blonde hair as well, it's just stands out. He stood out even more. They're
just all legs, isn't he? He's all legs.
Yeah.
Got one stage. He got the ball sort of like on the touchline by Bullet, and I swear within 3 strides he was in the center circle.
Yeah,
he's just monstrously big.
He is a big boy. Emil Wynne-Jones, just at times you need to take a shot on, just test the keeper, get a deflection off a defender. Final balls weren't good enough today, but some nice football being played throughout the midfield, which was refreshing. Tom, do you think that'll come? We're building confidence, building the team. Just have a shot. That's what we want to see, isn't it?
It's simple, but yeah, I think there's some truth in it. I think it's easier to shoot than it is to produce nice football. So the fact that we're doing the nice football at the moment and we're kind of lacking opportunities, I think I'd rather it that way round. So like I said earlier, I'm not getting too worried about it. And, we still got another few players to come in, hopefully. So I'm sure it'll come in the next few weeks.
Stephen Williams says, walked out the mem last week full of optimism. Not quite so sure now. Stating the obvious, but much depends on the quality of the striker we can bring in. 8 to 10 teams are in the same position. Let's wait and see what we have at the end of August. John T.M. Williams, will it good start? My voice is going. John T.M. Williams, will it good start? Callum O'Dowd back and firing. Defence, Gutas looked off it for me. Will be a long season. Hope I'm wrong. Well, it's going to be a long season. 45 games to come. James C. Roberts, thought for large parts we were good. Willock is a steal, especially with O'Dowd supporting. Few half chances, so sure goals will come, but there's something wrong with the defence. They just look uncertain at times and lose markers way too often. Ben, do you think it's just Chambers bedding in, slight bit of change, bit of uncertainty over McGuinness that's causing that change, or is it the way we're playing is causing the defence to be a bit more nervous?
I think it's the way we're playing. It's a new thing for a lot of those players. Probably other than Chambers, the last 12 months, none of them have really played that style. Mm-hmm. It's a lot more expansive. So, yeah, I think add Chambers into that who's not played a lot.
At left back, basically.
Yeah, I think the only player that sort of didn't really perform at the back was NG. I thought Gutas was pretty solid. He didn't really have to throw himself at too much. It wasn't sort of a lot of times last season where it was a last ditch, because we know he loves a last ditch tackle.
Maybe that's why we didn't notice him.
Yeah, it might have been that, but I don't think he was. I don't think there's a few people who sort of said stuff about the defense. I think we need another left back. But other than that, I think if NG switches on and becomes gets back to what he was last year, I think that defense looks really, really nice.
Do you think it's just because last season we relied on a defence to be last gasp probably 40-50% of the time? We bombed forward and they were the ones who had to clean up. This season, it looks like we're taking the pressure off the defence. So therefore, people just don't notice them as much. That's probably it, really, isn't it?
I think it has to be, yeah. Because, there's nothing else I can see. It's just, is it a case that sometimes we're so used to defenders making these last-ditch tackles and sort of being in such a panic, they look better than it looks better than they actually are?
Nick O'Leary says if 10 out of 10 is battering Swansea to win the league, then would 4 out of 10 be a fair assessment of today? Slightly below average, but not absolutely disastrous. Reece Spears says it was controlled and measured for 90% of the game, but in the 10% it was poor. Looked like poor communication, players not knowing their roles. Got to be said, I reckon with McGuinness, at least the first one doesn't go in. Lee Spear, I wonder if they're related. I know it's only the first game, but the biggest difference between that game and last season, Tom, what do you think he said? What was the biggest difference between last season and this season?
I don't like you when you put me on the spot. I was coming up with something stupid. I don't know. Go on, enlighten me.
It was the kit. The kit.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't have got to that, I tell you.
Jonesy the Giant says Willock looks class, but if he's beating his man and crossing to nobody, then what's the point? Blue flyby, only our first 90 minutes of the season, but our pedestrian offensive approach is still evident and so very easy to defend against, whereas Sunderland often only needed 3 or 4 passes and they were in on us, just also predictable and slow. Other than that, a few tasty diags. That was a tough watch. Leyland, people are overreacting. We didn't play fantastically, no, but it's a season of 46 matches, plenty of time, especially with the eventual addition of our new signings. And Tom, it's not just the new signings, it's people like we've already discussed, Kanga, El Ghazi, who are going to make impacts, aren't they, over the next few weeks when they get fit?
Yeah, 100%. It's like we haven't seen everyone come in yet. So we've got the first batch have come in to try and bed in, but we've got the second ones to get the second wave to come in a few weeks. So, I'm not getting too worried yet because there's so much more to come. The window's not shut as well. People will leave, people will come in. And I keep forgetting, we've got the likes of El Ghazi. It's I come on the pod and someone says El Ghazi is oh yeah, Christ, we still got him to come in as well. Perry NG's best mate. So, I'm not worried. There's plenty that can change our fortunes in the next few weeks, and like we've said, there's enough there to be positive about going in. It's not going to be a disaster from what we've seen so far.
Unfortunately, the Perry NG water park theory wasn't true. They share an agent. Sorry about that.
That's less fun.
That doesn't mean the water park thing didn't happen.
That's true, actually. They shared an agent. He said, "Go, Perry's with you in the water park. Go and say hello to him." And they talked about it on the water slide.
The agent got on free tickets.
Yeah, that's the kind of pull agents have.
That's what they do.
Get you free tickets. Don't do anything else. Alid Hopkins, lots of positives to take. Result didn't reflect the game. Need to be less passive and look to break lines. But press from front and midfield was largely good. Shite result, but on we go. Chris Stephen, all very predictable. Built to beat a press, but no idea how to beat a team that sits in. Players that come in, but we offered very little. Tactically outdone by Sunderland from almost the first minute to last. I tell you what, isn't that the duality of Cardiff City fans in 2 tweets? They basically said the opposite. Fantastic. Lee Gardner, is it worth getting another winger on loan until January? Mate was bright when he came on, but we need another Willock on the other side. El Ghazi is a while away and we can't rely on Tanner just yet. Ben, would we just be overrun with wingers then? Because surely if we sign another left back and JC comes back in, we'll have O'Dowda to play in the wings. We've got Mate, El Ghazi, Willock, and then potentially Tanner. That's 6 wingers.
Yeah, I don't think wingers are the issue unless we move someone on. I think it needs to be get a left back in so we free up O'Dowda. I think if we've got El Ghazi, Willock, O'Dowda, and Mate, and then Tanner dropping in and out as well, that's a lovely that's not a bad option to have, is it?
And you've still got people like Conte who could play on the wing. I know Conte is probably primarily a fullback.
Ashford,
but if you need
Davis
pace,
as well.
Ashford, yeah. If Isaac Davis comes back in fully fit. Di Richards, we never look like scoring. We'll win games and play worse, but if you have the ball for that long, it has to lead to that final pass. Those final passes were poor today. Alex Wysom, great start. Back to slow ponderous Cardiff after we conceded. Big improvement needed. Noah Ninian, Tanner only player I was distinctly disappointed with today. He was shite. It happens was my reaction. Disappointing result, but going 1-0 down means they could sit back. Willock was exciting. Mate was great on the wing as well. I think that's where I'd strengthen his right wing. Chris Bradwick, midfield is way too slow. Don't care who scores. Need someone to hit the onion bag. Harry H, still hate the officials. Jump. his Twitter name, jump until we play forward with the intent of scoring. It's going to be grim. And then Matt, MJCCFC, football undoubtedly better and improved and better than last year. But like last year, didn't work the keeper and the game changer type subs were left far too late. Twitter.com/VFT Ninian or X.com if you're up with the new one. Tom, let's talk about your favourite thing, squad numbers. What are your thoughts on the squad numbers? They were released this week. A couple of kind of standouts within the squad numbers being that CO has moved to number 3. Not sure if you think that's a football crime or not. People like Eli King and Joel Bagan have kept their numbers. Do you think when Joel Bagan's football career, he will surpass Michael Jordan for association with the number 23?
As well, not famously, I've said in the past, I don't care. I mean, I'm not. It's one of those things. It's like squad numbers. I like, if anything, I find it quite funny when someone wears a number that they shouldn't. And I think the ones
like
like
Barros wearing 5.
Yeah, funny. I think Hal Robson-Kanu wore 4, didn't he? At West Brom.
Yeah.
I knew it'd bug you. I think the ones that bother me more are people who wear like 71. I'm like, oh, grow up, you attention seeker. Like. But like
Callum Robinson wearing 47.
It's teetering on the edge. I think anything higher than 50, you're taking the piss. But I don't care. But was it Bagan being more famous than Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
Unless he murders a fan or something, I can't see it myself.
I mean, that is quite the shout. And
that's a horrible one. Sorry. No, I don't know why that came out.
That was fantastic. Ben, do you care about squad numbers?
Yeah, that's why I put it in.
Yeah, good. Go on.
Just wanted to have a moment.
Again, the duality of Cardiff fan right in front of us.
Yeah, just didn't want to see Sia wearing number 3. It annoys me that.
What's your problem with him wearing number 3?
It's not a midfield. It's a fullback number. Or like on the continent, maybe it's a defender player number in it. It's a defensive number. Like midfield, I can accept a midfielder wearing 4. I mean, shout out to Agent Gavin Ray for bringing Robinson in.
But isn't 4 a defensive midfield number anyway? 5 and 6 are centre halves.
Yeah, but he's 3.
Gutas wears 4. Do you have a problem with Gutas wearing 4?
No, because defenders can wear 4 as well. Defenders have wore 4.
Oh, so it's okay for certain numbers.
Yeah, 3 is centre back or for normally a left back number.
I don't think 3 is a centre back number.
I've seen some players in PK.
Did he wear 3?
He wore 3 for Barca.
Yeah,
just because a player wore it doesn't mean it's a centre back number.
Well, there's a few like out in Spain where number 3, and then it's not as bad as Gian wearing 3 for Sunderland as a striker.
Is he wearing 3 for Sunderland?
Don't mind it. Don't mind it.
Well, you just said you do mind it less. It's ridiculous because you said you didn't like Milan Barros wearing 5.
No, you said Barros. She just said,
yeah,
fine.
Yeah. Fine. Ben, were there any surprises for you with the numbers? Obviously, people like Marlon Romeo have kept the number. I mean, we don't really know what's going on with him at the moment. He seems bombed out, but he's obviously sticking around. Rina Motta kept number 35. You've got people like Eli King, Kieran Evans taking their numbers from last year. There were no major changes, were there, really, apart from CO taking 3 and the new players getting the numbers? There was nothing there that really stood out for me.
Yeah, I thought like some of the youth, like people like Ashford and stuff would move up a bit, sort of into the 20s. It seems like I quite like it when sort of youngsters break through and they move sort of up. Like once they broke through, they get sort of like a higher, like high 20s number instead of like the 40s, 50s. And yeah, that seems to have stopped. It seems a bit weird that no youngsters sort of changed their numbers in that respect. They were sort of...
People get attached to their numbers a bit.
I was going to say, I assume that Ashford wants to keep 45 for some reason because, like, you know, Isaac Davis wears 39, obviously, because of Craig Bellamy.
Yeah.
NG obviously wears 38 for a reason. Some of the other players, I think, have just been given a number. People like, I imagine Louis Giles and Dylan Lawler have just taken a squad number that's late on. But there's not actually, you know, apart from number, we haven't got a number 22. We haven't got a number 26. We haven't got 27 to 30. So there's a bit of space in there. Yeah, 13 we haven't got either, have we? I wonder why that is.
Unlucky.
Yeah, but normally the sub-keeper wears that, but Alnwick's gone 21.
Yeah.
So you do care?
I do care.
People do care. Tom doesn't. I can see in his eyes. Literally,
yeah, I completely zoned out at one point.
Over there, but
and we're filming this as well, so people will be able to see the moment that Tom zones out. Let's talk about more important matters. This week, the ongoing saga of the training ground, Ben, seemed to take another step forward with a slapdash announcement on Sky Sports News when Ken Chu was speaking to a journalist. It took a fan spotting it on Sky Sports News to post it on Twitter for anyone to really take notice. Is that the most Cardiff City thing you've ever heard?
Yeah, and the fact the club didn't actually retweet it as well really made me laugh. They've just left it as a Sky exclusive. There's no article. This is a huge thing. Like we've actually, the diggers have been on site. I think they started last week. Like it's not like they started on Friday because that's just a really random time to start a massive construction project. But yeah, the fact that it was just left, like I think we brought on ourselves because we did say we hadn't heard from Chew, Darman, or anyone for a while, and then they popped up last week out of nowhere. So it's like Beetlejuice. We said their names too much, but yeah, just. Not even like it wasn't as if like it was a featured thing. It was Sky were doing bits on every club in the 92 or the 72, sorry, for the EFL to start the launch of the season. Ken Chu happened to be there and she went, "Oh yeah, by the way, we've started our new training ground." This whole thing started. It was this announced when we changed to red.
Well, you pointed out, didn't you, that the drawings haven't actually had the badge updated?
No, they have. I just found the old ones.
Oh, right. But then the point remained because that was 2012, 2013.
Yeah, it was that season. It was announced like the new. They've moved away from like the white sort of pavilion and stuff. It's a lot more sort of slates and woods and stuff. It looks really, really nice. And I think when it's done in a couple of years, it's gonna be a wicked facility. And it's huge that we're finally getting our own training ground because I think I don't know if anyone's been there, but sort of the way it's shared with the FAW, it's Cardiff. And it used to be shared with the Blues as well. It's never really been ours to call our own. It's sort of the changing rooms where the lads are putting their boots on. Like when I was there, the company I used to work for was going to do the fit out of the office and stuff. It was that stage where we had loads of players. Kieran Brown and Mark Harris were sharing a locker at that stage. It's sort of
they do the same at Oxford now.
They might do. It might just be like a really nice thing for them. They might just sort of bring them together.
Brown puts his TX purchases in there and gets a discount for Mark Harris.
The discount card's in there, So Mark Harris got loads of DVDs for 50p.
I bet you Kieran Brown's only putting a can of Monster and a can of Lynx Africa in his anyway. He's not washing, is he? After training, he's going home, trackies over the top, straight.
He's never heard of it. He's got a really damp towel that he's never washed.
Stuck in the boot of his Vauxhall Corsa.
Vauxhall Corsa. It's got McDonald's wrappers everywhere. Tom, obviously the training ground is it's been fine that we've been sharing with the FAW at the Vale, but how important is it that for the club that we're going to have our own training ground and have space that's ownable to us?
Yeah, it's massive because people having their own training grounds, it's just massive for clubs. You know about famous ones with like clubs in the Premier League,
Well, Carrington, you know them by name.
Yeah, exactly, right? And it becomes like synonymous when like you have a crop that come through, or the lot that came through Carrington in that year and things like that. And there's no coincidence that when you've got your own facilities, it breeds just a better kind of just a better breeding ground to bring the youth through. Yeah, a better culture. And just like the little things like having your stuff on the walls and stuff. Like in the CCS, for example, as a stadium, as soon as the Blues left, they went from, having those boards that you had to flip over depending on which sport was on to something you could really brand yourself and it felt more at home. And if you're having like an atmosphere where youngsters are going in, say you're a 12-year-old who's just signed for the club, right? And you walk into a brand new training facility. Yeah. It's going to feel so special to you training at somewhere like that. And, it's massive to have that. And it's just a sign that we're doing that side of it. We're going in the right direction. And I bet you, though, the club media team are livid at you. I bet you they were putting something together, a lovely, tidy package they could put out, and he's blabbed on TV. And they'll be absolutely cursing him. He is an absolute...
Our DMs are open if you're an anonymous Cardiff City media man and you want to tell us how annoyed you are at Ken Chu. Our DMs will keep your anonymity is our key. Ben, I mean, look, we've been critical of the club, haven't we? But it is a big step forward, isn't it? So they deserve some praise for this, Ben.
Oh, massively, yeah. It's huge.
There we go.
Like Tom said, like just the idea of walking in and sort of seeing that badge on the wall. It's like when you go there now, it is everything's FAW till you go up the stairs.
Yeah.
Just that is huge. It's gonna be great.
Let's talk a bit about transfers because we haven't really covered the exciting news that Alex Robertson joined, Tom. I tweeted that your move to Australia paved the way as some kind of diplomatic exchange. Do you want to take the credit for that?
I did like the tweet that says, fair play, we've had their pants down in that deal.
Yeah.
I barely laughed at that.
Oh, I was like, fair enough, actually. It's a good dig at me and I completely deserve it. I can't disagree with it. But I tell you what, it is quite exciting being in the country like Australia when you sign a player like that. Because suddenly you will get a little bit more coverage like over here.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, oh, how's our international star doing in the championship? Because they do care about that sort of thing. Like if you go through like Reddit and Twitter and stuff, they are keeping an eye on it. So it's quite like it's nice for me selfishly to have an attachment. But then on the playing level, he's just a decent player as well. Like he was out injured a little bit last year, but the Portsmouth fans love him. Like, and they don't begrudge the move or anything like that. A lot of them, they're just like, you've got a hold of a good player here. We're just quite jealous of it. And, you know, we've signed, like we said in the past, we've signed Man City players before and it's worked out nicely. So I'm really excited for it. I think it's a really good move for both parties.
It's I think it shows the kind of link we're getting with Man City, doesn't it? Because we obviously had Doyle in the past. We had Wilson Esbrand last year. They obviously trust us with their players. And they've got a fantastic youth system. So it sounds like we obviously worked hard on the deal, beat 6 other clubs for it. And Ben, did you know that he was Gavin Ray's nephew? Because I didn't.
I didn't until the club made that, and I thought that was a nice little touch, sort of bringing the Gavin Ray thing into it. And did you hear? The only one thing I did learn this week is how he injured himself at Portsmouth.
No.
Oh, go on.
Did he run into a bin?
No. He attempted a back heel in training and just described it as if like a bomb went off.
Oh my God.
We've signed another injury-prone player, haven't we?
It was a 4C tear of his hamstring, I think.
I know it was like a really bad tear. I didn't know he did it by back heel.
Yeah, it was like one of the worst
made of glass.
He had, and he did it attempting a back heel. So, do you remember when Kiefer Moore did his a few years ago doing that?
Yeah.
I didn't realise back heels were that dangerous.
Nor did I.
You know, we need to avoid doing this woke back heel nonsense, really, don't we? And stick to proper football.
Put your foot through it, man.
Yeah.
I think he's a really exciting signing. I think he's a bit of a game changer in that 8 position because I love Joe Rolls. We could talk about Joe Rolls' positives till the cows come home, but he's not very good at advancing with the ball, is he? And I think Alex Robertson is the kind of player who's going to take the ball and run with it as well as bring in players with passing. So I'm really excited for it. But on the other side, Ben, there is talk that Martin McGuinness, is going to leave, strongly linked with Luton. The club have put a £10 million price tag on him. Are we going to get that money for him?
If that's the price tag we put on him, it'd be disappointing not to get it. It's a weird one. I've watched a few things recently about like the transfer market seems to have sort of leveled out again after like the silly money that's gone round. So it's difficult to know what the value is of a player at the moment.
I've seen a few 15 million transfers this summer, which feels very low.
Yeah, it's just odd. So I could see us getting that, but I could also see us going and eventually end up with like something like 6-7 million for him and still being pretty happy with that, to be honest.
Anything, Tom, over £5 or £6 million for a player we signed on a free, you know, in this era of PSR and profit and loss and all that kind of stuff, it's £6 million pure profit, isn't it?
For a club like us, it's huge. That sum of money. We haven't had players like that for a long time that we've sold for money. You know, considering like we've spent a little bit of, we've consistently spent like little bits here and there, and it's mounted up without bringing anything back really. And like on about the value of a player, at the end of the day, the value is wherever we set it at. You know, you've seen that with the likes of like Premier League like teams where they've gone like I think Villa and stuff have done it where they've gone, no, you're paying this amount of money or we keep him. And I think we can do that with McGuinness. I don't think we desperately need to get rid of him. And I don't think like 3 or 4 million wouldn't be that helpful to us, but something like £10 million would be huge to us. It could completely just like transform our potential January window. For example, if we're looking like we're in with a shout again in the mix, you've got that money there. But we're also just, you know, we are struggling for cash. So we can sniff at the offers. If they come in and offer 10 million, I don't think there's a fan who would want to turn that down. Like, I love McGuinness. I think he's a great player. I think he's a great leader. But like, there's other players that are harder to replace in that squad than him. And I think we've already started to do that with some of our signings as well. So, you know, if we can get that money, I think it'd be a great deal for us.
He is injured at the moment as well. I think he was only back in training last week, so I don't even think it's a case of us protecting him. But I think if we got an offer for him that was concrete of around £6-7 million, we sort of need to bite the hands off a little bit. As much as good as he is, I still forget he's only 23, Ben, because that man is a man mountain, and he could be 23, he could be 43.
Yeah, and just on the pitch, the leadership and stuff. That's sort of why it's a weird one, but I think realistically, 10 million, even if he comes good and we keep it for another year or two, 10 mil is about probably the limit of what we'd get for him anyway. So if it comes in with that, I think it's just the right time. It would just be the right deal to sell, as good as he is. And I think there's no doubt, I think in a couple of years, he'll be playing Premier League football for someone. I think very, very good centre back for sort of like a lower half Premier League team. I think he'd do really well. But yeah, it's just up down to the club now to get the most out of what we get. And hopefully then we run down the risk of losing him on a free, which sort of we've tended to do in the past, if anyone with any sort of potential.
The only issue is, I think it's going to a championship team. I think that's the only kind of like kick. I'd like to see him just go, just because it's another team who's strengthening like above us, and you just like him to leave our league, you know, go abroad or go to the Premier League if you're selling him for that amount of money. But that's just the only kind of negative I can find in it.
I think it's not so much that, it's Luton, in it. I don't really. It might be harsh. They've just come down from the Premier League, but they're not. If it was Burnley or Leeds, I'd sort of be more. It is definitely an upwards move. But Luton are in a weird position. They've come down. They've got this money, but they're not sort of one you'd look at and go, "Oh, they're definitely going to go up next year."
No, they are showing, but I think they're doing what a lot of really good championship clubs do, which is they've gone up. They didn't really spend a huge amount last year. I know they signed some players for fees, but they've come down and they're probably taking the Premier League money and reinvesting it in a very strong championship side. You can see them signing people like McGuinness, and then they're in the best position when they go up, or if to have a promotion tilt again, basically. So I know what you mean, but I think they're also just becoming a really well-run football club, and especially under a coach like Rob Edwards. If you're a young centre-half, you either go there or Burnley. You probably go to Luton ahead of Burnley at the moment. Just because Burnley have got a massive squad and Scott Parker's a bit of a dickhead. Also, it says a lot about the transfer market currently that we paid £10 million to Gary Medell, and we're talking about £10 million to Mark McGuinness. So that shows how values have kind of changed in the last 10 years. Gary Medell at that point was a pretty big football. He went to Inter after us, and Mark McGuinness is going to a championship club for the same amount of money. Ben, let's take a little look elsewhere. Anything you want to say about the Mark Harris fan club getting up and running for the 24-25 season?
Just delighted. I can't believe I didn't put this for my niche thing last week of Oxford get relegated and Mark Harris even becomes the first player to win the Ballon d'Or playing for a relegated second tier side. That is the obvious niche thing that's going to happen. It's probably so obvious, that's why I didn't put it as niche. But yeah, it's not actually that niche when you think about it. James Richardson, all the big journalists will be down at the Kazam Stadium watching Mark Harris for the rest of the season. And Tom, Joel Colwell had a right romper stomper on his debut for Cheltenham. 2 goals, the winner in the 96th minute. Watched it last night in the highlights. A lot of praise for him already on Twitter. Should we recall him now? Just get it out the way.
Yeah, definitely bring him back. No, I think it's just a classic case of why loan moves work for young players, isn't it? Rather than keeping him in and around the squad. Because, like, looking on Twitter, people were saying, like, he was clearly a class above anyone else on that pitch. And, like, they were saying, like, already, it's like, if he doesn't come back to Cardiff in January, he'll be recalled and sent to a League One club because he's not League Two level. And that's just great to hear that they're that, fans are that excited about him after one game. And he celebrated right in front of the Newport fans, which is really funny. Like, he proper gave it some as well. Good. But it's good to see. Like, it's good to see a youngster do that, because it is exciting. Like, even though it's not even at our club, I know I'll just get invested in Cheltenham results now because I want to see if Colwell has scored. But no, it's cracking that he's hit the ground running, because there's no better way of starting like that, is it? Like, you score like that in your first game, it just gives you the momentum then for the first 10 games of the season.
He got man of the match on FOTMob for Cheltenham. I'm sure other former Cardiff players did as well, but they're the only two I care about at the moment. Looking ahead, boys, Bristol Rovers and Burnley over the next week. Ben, let's ask the age-old question: do you fancy a cup run?
I'd like it. I think, especially.
Are we going to have a cup run?
Probably not. No, we're going to score an own goal in the 89th minute, and then we're going to lose. But still.
What team are you putting out for Bristol Rovers, Tom? Are you playing a lot of youngsters?
Yeah, like you look at pre-season, we had some decent results with youngsters in the team, so just do the same again. I think it is helpful to get some win in football, especially at home as well. So, like, I think you've got to put a couple of like strong players in there as well. It is important to just the feel good factor around like the training ground and stuff like that. But you're bringing in maybe the likes of Kapaku just because I said he's going to have an impact. Selfishly, get him in there, but like give Ashford a game and stuff like that. This is the ideal time to do it. But that's why you also want a cup run, because it's just another opportunity in the next round to do the same, give them more game time. And it is shit losing at home in front of hardly no one against a lower league team who are clearly more excited about it than you. So I wouldn't mind going further into the cup. So we could be the slightly lower down team getting excited about playing a big dog, because we don't do it that often at the moment.
Ben, what changes would you make? Would you bring Eli King in?
Yeah, I think players like King coming on, Ramsey starting for sure. And then if he's fit, give Kanga an hour. Just really get him up to speed and running. I think that'd be huge. They're the main ones. Outside that, I think Gutas has got to play. Maybe Rash Chambers. Obviously, he's not played a lot.
Fagan Walcott in.
Yeah, give him a run. Conte right back, possibly. I think it's a mix of sort of. It's just giving players minutes now who need it. Like maybe you look at giving Robertson an hour. Sort of that's where you bring him in. Players like that, just sort of so they can get up to speed. It's sort of, in a weird way, it's like another pre-season game just after the season started. I think that's
the same team.
Yeah, I guess it is literally the same team, just a fixture in it. Yeah. I think that's just what I'd go for. Really, sort of look at who needs minutes and who's actually going to be involved. Because I don't want to give I think players like Louis Giles, they might get a run in later. Maybe sort of, do you look at that, or is Bagan this is where you sort of make a decision of who's going to be that sort of second choice left back? Is it going to be Bagan? Is it going to be Louis Giles? And they get the run in, not so much swapping them out and sort of playing youngsters that are only going to play 2 games all season.
Bullet seems to think Bagan's a centre half now. The way he's been talking about him in pre-season.
He's all left back.
No,
that's my worry.
And I mean, the games keep on coming, Tom. Burnley next Saturday, another 12:30 kickoff, I think, if I've read it correctly on FOTMob. I might be lying. I had a look there. No, it is 3:00 kickoff. The games are just moving around all the time. Middlesbrough's 12:30 kickoff. I got confused about that. Turf Moor's not a happy hunting ground, really, is it, for us, Tom?
No, not for a while. But Burnley are just good. They've probably got they've got such a big squad, they could probably put 3 teams out that would probably be favourites against us. So, it's a game I'm not expecting much from. I think they've got a new manager, and when you have got that many players, there could be a bit of upheaval. It could be a bit of a weird dynamic around the place. But, we can't be expecting much from that game. Perhaps it's a good thing we're playing them earlier in the season, like one of those classic cliches. But, it's a tough fixture. Probably one of the toughest games we'll play this season.
They currently, I'm just looking through their squad on FOTMob. They have 11 strikers.
They've got 43 players or something.
They've still got Wout Weghorst. They've still got Jay Rodriguez. They've got Michael Obafemi playing for them. They got Lyle Foster, the South African, and then a bunch of names that I don't really recognise. But they've got 11 strikers. Can we have one of them, please, Burnley? Ben, would you take Wout Weghorst up front
over Kanga? Nah.
No, just in general.
Why would I take a Dutch international player that played quite well at the Euros? Don't be silly.
What are your predictions then, Ben, for Bristol and Burnley? Are we winning any of these games?
I'd like to think at the very least we pick up a win against Bristol, but it isn't going to be easy. There can't be anything more disheartening than playing in a cup game with 2,500 people there. I think they've only opened 2 stands of the Ninian stand.
Bristol Rovers bring in thousands, though, aren't they? And they bring in quite a lot, I think.
We generally could be outnumbered by Bristol Rovers fans at home. That is worrying.
That would be my genuine worry. I think Something needs to be done about this. Like, I don't know what it is. I think as fans, I know we should do a little bit ourselves by actually turning up to these games. It might be a little bit difficult for me this week, but like in general, I think we've done nothing about these small crowds in cup matches, and it's become a thing now where we go into it, everyone's a little bit apathetic, thinking there's going to be no one there. I'm not going to bother either. I don't know what needs to be done about it, but something needs to do it. I don't know whether it's like we've even lessened the price of tickets. It's not even like a pricing thing. I don't know whether it's hype or what, because it's a local derby at the end of the day. It should be an easier one to try and market.
I was going to say, I think when we played in stuff like the FAW Premier Cup and I was in school in Cardiff, they'd often, in primary school in particular, they would come to the school and have like Cardiff City would do in community football things, and then they would give people tickets. Go, here's 50 tickets for the Premier Cup game, give them to your, your pupils and stuff like that. I don't see why we don't do that for these games. Obviously, it's August, so the schools are off. I appreciate I'm saying that with difficulties, but that's what they should do, right? They should be more involved in the community and hand out local to community groups, to summer schools, things like that. They should be giving tickets out.
Of football clubs, of grassroots football clubs, that clubs should be going out to hand these tickets out.
Exactly.
But also
take the rugby approach in that regard. Give them to the local clubs.
Is there anything against it though? Like, is there like an EFL thing where you can't or anything like that? Do you know what I mean?
I don't know in detail, but you have to have a minimum pricing on a ticket. That's all I know when it comes to these tickets. They have to be.
I'm looking at pricing now. Season ticket holders £12. General admissions £15.
That's not bad.
That's not cheap though. Like if you do a tenner
for 4 of you.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. I think, if you're just looking at one person, it's very different. I think it's not one you're going to take a whole family to, because it's not exactly a great experience for an 8-year-old as a first game either, really.
But that's the reality is though, Tom, that people do that. They go, we'll go to a quieter game for their first game and see if they get on with it, and then they go to a league game. So that should be encouraged. It should be like a family of 4, 2 kids, 2 adults, should be £20 for a game like this, just to get people in the ground. If you can.
Yeah.
They've got 3 stands open, Ben. 113, 114, 115.
Yeah, I've just seen.
Huge Cardiff crowd expected. Anyway, we've lost our way. Why are we talking about tickets? Tom, predictions?
I'd like to think we thump Bristol Rovers, so I'll go 4-0 in the cup. And why not 0-0 at Burnley?
0-0 at Burnley. Ben?
2-1 against Bristol Rovers and 1-0 loss against Burnley.
I'll go somewhere in the middle. We're going to beat Bristol 2-0 and we're going to draw 1-0 with Burnley.
Scoring.
Yeah, scoring. Who's scoring? Kanga's going to score them all. He's going to score 3 goals over the next 2 games. Great stuff. Bloody great stuff, lads. Really good podcast, despite the technical difficulties at the start, Tom. Thanks everyone for joining. Twitter.com/the FT if you want to get involved. We still have all the kind of predictions to go through from last week. I just haven't had the time this week, so we'll do it next week. If you like what we do and want to give us some money, kofi.com/the FT. If you like the podcast and you want to sponsor us, get in touch. We're looking for sponsors for the 24-25 season. We get good listeners. We can show you the facts and figures. It's confidential for everybody else, but not for you. Ben, is there anything you want to
add? No, keep an eye out. Hopefully we might have some news of a collaboration with someone either this week or next week.
Oh, collaboration. Tom, anything you want to say?
Just as an open goal for the club to now go and do some Perry and El Ghazi waterslide footage. I think it's they can have it. I'm not precious about it. I want to see it before the end of the season.
Are you thinking down the Olympic pool, down the swimming pool, down
swimming centre?
That's the one, yeah.
Anything, yeah. It's up to them. I put the idea out there.
Or Victoria Park Splash Park. What about that?
The Splash Park. World class. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back after the Burnley game next week. Ta-da.